A group of 11,000 scientists has endorsed a stark message on our climate. It's based on a new study that looks at 40 years of data, and that study concludes the climate crisis has arrived and is accelerating faster than most scientists expected. It's more severe than anticipated, threatening natural ecosystems and the fate of humanity. It does, though, also say action taken now can still make a difference. Here's the BBC Science editor, David Shukman.
What we have here is a very large number of scientists who've actually, in a sense, lost patience. They point out that exactly 40 years ago there was a World Climate Conference which warned of the urgency of tackling climate change as greenhouse gas emissions were due then to shoot up and cause a whole range of impacts. And they say that effectively nothing has been done. And I think what we're seeing more and more are scientists breaking out of the straitjacket you'd expect them to be in. What you want from scientists, or what the public might think of hard facts, hard analysis, no emotion. What the scientists are themselves coming up with now are projections, warning signs that they feel are so worrying that they have to speak out. They have to get emotional. They say there's now a moral obligation on scientists to speak up and to use ever blunter language. So that's what we're seeing now.
Now, the report names 6 areas where improvements could have an immediate effect. They include energy, land clearing and food, as well as population growth. These scientists are saying the world needs to stabilise its population, which is growing by around 200,000 people a day. Here's David on why that issue is controversial.
It's incredibly sensitive, because if you start saying, oh, there are too many people, and sort of statistically, scientifically, you could make that judgment. What are you actually going to do about it? So the Chinese had their one-child policy and say that that created a climate benefit for the planet, which they haven't been rewarded for, they say. What are you going to say to the Catholic Church, the Vatican, about birth control? You immediately smack into some terribly difficult, culturally, religiously sensitive issues.
But this document suggests that some scientists are willing to do that.
That's indeed the case, and for some years you've had people becoming perhaps a little more outspoken about this topic, bringing it up or saying it should be brought up in international fora, but that isn't really happening. Imagine you've got a room full of all the governments on the planet, all kinds of trade-offs, difficult negotiations, sensitivities. Population is something that so far they've steered away from.
Also relevant to this climate emergency is America's withdrawal from the Paris climate deal. Now, we knew this was coming, but it's now been formalised and the whole process will be completed by a year's time. And it will make America the only country that's not participating. Here's President Trump back in 2017 when he took the decision.
The United States will withdraw, but begin negotiations to re-enter either the Paris Accord or in really entirely new transaction.
Well, the Paris deal commits 187 countries to keeping global temperatures to below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, with the goal really to stay below 1.5 degrees. Well, America might be out, but Emmanuel Macron's in China at the moment to sign a declaration that states the irreversibility of this Paris Accord, and he's been speaking.
Si nous voulons être
If we are to comply with the Paris Accord, we will have to increase our commitments on emissions next year. We will need to confirm new commitments for 2030 and 2050. And cooperation between China and the European Union is decisive in this respect. Going it alone is not a good decision for anyone and is not possible for everyone.
Now, here's a report by the Institute of International and European Affairs last year. It suggests that President Trump's decision to leave the Paris deal had done very real damage to it. The Institute also argued Mr. Trump's decision had created moral and political cover for others to follow suit. But so far others haven't followed suit. Here's David again assessing the impact of the Americans' departure.
The big worry is if America isn't playing ball in this process, will other countries think, well, how seriously do we need to take it? Will our international reputations be damaged if we're not really stepping up to the plate on cutting emissions, if America isn't doing that? I think the really key thing here is China, the response of China. We are waiting in the coming months for the next Chinese 5-year plan. And there have been hints that they will step up. They will increase the level of their ambition to cut their greenhouse gases in coming years. That's a hugely significant step. If they decide they're going to show climate leadership, they're not going to worry about America, well, maybe the process rolls on as before. If they decide, the other big partner isn't playing, we won't bother, that'll be very serious indeed.